Well, hello there. It's very, very lovely to be with you here this evening or this morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Due to the volcanic eruptions, I think there are 7 of them. People have been banging messages to me all afternoon about how many volcanic eruptions there are on the planet today. 7 of them in disparate parts of the world. And the earthquake that went off near Tonga before. We don't have the music at the beginning. Actually, I'm not really sure there's a causal link between those. So I'm just going to do you a quick blast of healing sound. Just receive this in every part of your body. Are you ready? Just let that penetrate. Well, if you've not been before, in fact, if you have been before, obviously welcome. Bear with me being somewhat repetitive. If you haven't been before, welcome. The satsang means sitting together in authenticity. It means that we drop the usual facades and the tendencies to parade and impress that all animals display. I mean, also have these functions. To sit together as spirits, as presences, rather than personalities. The word comes from Sanskrit. It's the tradition of Indian gurus to sit with their followers and conduct these satsangs where there would be a bit of a rap to start with, and then there'd be a meditation, and there'd be questions and answers and so on, and then be darshan, where you get sweeties and stuff like that as symbols of the divine's love for you. But as we're here together, all followers of the Tao as such in this moment in time, this has got a slightly different format. Well, no, the format's the same, other than that rather than sitting in silence to meditate, which would seem kind of like a bit of a waste, all of us sitting in silence from all the way around the world with this brilliant technology. We could do that without the computers, couldn't we? I kind of do the guided, improvised narrative. And it is something I've been doing for it must be like 30 years. Yeah, over 30 years now. I used to do a live one every week when I lived in London. Every Tuesday night, the people used to pile into my place. And there's one of the things I love doing more than anything in the world. It's an act of pure service of both the consciousness pushing itself through and my fellows around me, in this case you. And it is an honour, a true honour, to be afforded this position of facilitating this. The magic aspect of it is just me pissing around, really. You know, like everything's magic. There's nothing that isn't magic. That's the point of that's the fundamental basis of Taoist magic. Taoism became famous for magic before it was famous for anything else. Back in the mid to late 60s, it was way before the internet. People didn't know about Tai Chi. They didn't know much about acupuncture, if anything. Certainly not Feng Shui and so on. But what they did know, that there was this thing called Taoist magic, that these guys in China, well, actually it wasn't China by then, it was Hong Kong and Taiwan and San Francisco, because it was post-revolution, that these guys were famous for being able to shift reality by intention. The art was called, or it is called, Wu Wei, meaning effortlessly manifesting whatever you need. But it doesn't come from that spiritually materialistic space. It doesn't come from that kind of greedy, grasping, I want space. It's not that kind of thing. It's a much more elevated level of operation, because right at the heart of the Taoist ethos is to be a nobody, not to be a somebody. Rather than being important, rather than gathering unto yourself loads of stuff and status and stuff you don't actually need, excess in other words. The idea is to divest yourself of excess, divest yourself of importance, and lose yourself, in fact, completely. They call this investing in loss. And ironically, the more you're able to let yourself go, the more easily you're able to attract to yourself the stuff that you need to make your life move in the most elegant way imaginable. To do this, you have to be willing to surrender to the sometimes ferocious currents of the Tao in motion, the chi of the universe, the cosmic energy, knowing that it moves in a yin-yang motif, which is a dance between the force that wants to contract and the force that wants to expand, the force that wants to make life easy and the force that wants to make it difficult, the force that wants to heal and generate life, and the force that wants to create disease and destroy life. Now, that's not a bad force, it's just the dark force. So it's not a bad thing. The part of the wisdom of the Taoist sage is to know that the one turns into its opposite, and that you can't have one without the other. And we'll go into that in a minute a little bit more precisely. So normally a satsang would not be themed. It's just that, you know, like we live in this kind of Western novelty referenced reality, and me as well. And it's nice to have things to talk about. It's nice to have something to focus on. And so, forgive me, but I like to have a theme at the moment, at this stage of the game anyway. And the theme of today is jumping over the imaginary mountain of ill health, lack of energy, and all that goes with that. The jumping over technique, excuse me, my voice keeps going a bit funny, so the jumping over technique is one of the most poignantly efficacious moves you can make in the Taoist magic schema. It's really a remarkable, remarkable technique. If you can let go and trust it, it involves visualizing yourself jumping over whatever hurdle or obstacle lies in front of you, seeing yourself landing on the other side, clear of it. And just that simple motion of the mind, without the need to try and believe it or convince yourself of it, because it isn't about auto-suggestion, is enough to make the magic happen. And I've used it again and again in my own life, always when beset by what looks like an immovable obstacle, where it looks like, oh, this is it, man, that's it, I'm finished. And then I'll visualize the jump over thing, and it works. It really, really, really works. I have to say that the money magic, jumping over the mountain of poverty that we did last week, thankfully, with the help of two very good friends of mine, in terms of creating plans, helping me create plans and stuff to present to my bank, did the job, and I'm now back sailing freely again and able to operate with a good tailwind, which is really, really nice and relieving. And this was really literally at the last second, and I was actually totally surrendered to the idea that it wouldn't as well, and was totally cool with that whichever way. Just as I was a few weeks earlier when I had been told that I was with serious cancer, and I was ready to roll with that as well, you know, whatever, with grace, even pain, whatever I'd have to face, I was up for it. And as it happened, that was a similar story. Through some kind of miraculous intervention, perhaps, or whatever it was, it's a mystery to everybody involved. It turns out that I, on second testing, was completely clear of any trace of cancer even. So yeah, I don't know what to put this magic down to, but there's definitely magic. The whole thing is magic, and that's it. So the rationale for this healing, which is what we're going to do now, really, you can come at this from so many different angles. But let me present it from one angle. This is not definitive, of course. This is just tonight's session, and I believe that this will do the job for us. So to start with, no one on the planet is 100% healthy. So this ideal that we imagine of being healthy, sort of 100% disease-free, is unattainable. There is no such thing. No one is 100% disease-free. It's impossible to be, because everything manifests is governed by that yin and yang pattern, which implies a constant state of seeking balance between the destructive and the constructive forces. There will always have to be these destructive forces, because if there weren't, this planet for a start would just be too crowded to live on. There'd be just all the people that ever lived. It would just be zillions of us here, and there'd be not a bit of space. So everything comes and everything goes, and to go, that requires a force. As I say, it's not a bad one. It's just something that dismantles what is, and that's balanced by a constructive force, something that builds the new. What keeps the constructive force in the ascendant, as in at least 51% winning, is the relatively free flow of energy, or vitality, or chi, as the Taoists call it. Now, the chi is the Tao in motion. The Tao cannot be defined or explained, but it's, let's call it the generative force of existence, the one presence that manifests itself as all of this. Once it starts manifesting as a universe or a multiverse, it takes the shape of chi. That's the Tao in motion. And it's the same as what the quantum physicists say, that everything in this energy is essentially, in this universe is essentially energy. Now, the more freely chi flows within you, hence the more vitality you have pushing through you and permeating your cells, the stronger the constructive life-supporting force becomes. This enables you, when it's moving powerfully through you, to overcome syndromes and all the symptoms associated with them that might otherwise floor you. Sometimes even despite rational-minded allopathic diagnostic and prognostic persuasions. In other words, even when the medical doctors tell you that you're done for and the game's up, if you can get the chi to push through you, you do, and probably a good chance of prevailing and staying alive, at least to fight another day. And that's what counts, isn't it? However, to affect such a state of being that you can effectively ordain the chi, in other words, ordain the Tao in motion to push through your channels and permeate your cells and shunt the disease to one side, as it were, you have to place yourself in a different relationship to your body and to the aspects of mind associated with and habituated to the body. What I'm talking about is the personality or the mask that you wear, and the array of ego defenses and self-delusion and self-obfuscation and self-derogation and bogus beliefs and spurious opinions and unhealthy prejudices, misguided allegiances, unfounded fears, stymieing phobias and grandiose notions that comprise, among other factors, your auto-constructed self, which is what Freud called the ego, the phenomenon that you constructed piece by piece ever since you were born. So this ego or constructed self is held in thrall by a story that it's been creating, that it's been working on ever since you were born. This is a story about you, about the world, and about how the two of you bump along together. And to keep the story energized, it imbues it with drama. So drama gives the story that it's telling itself intensity, and that makes it riveting. So, and it manufactures fears to pump cortisol, which is a highly addictive and unpleasant stress chemical, into your system, which in itself generates a vicious addictive loop all of its own. It seeks peace and respite from itself, but does so misguidedly by searching for that peace through what it imagines will be the fulfillment that comes when you strive for perfect order in all aspects of your life. But obviously when you do strive for perfect order in all aspects of your life, that you're doing so in vain, because it's impossible to create perfection in that sense. And as unsettling as all of this is, it's nonetheless extremely compelling and fascinating. And this draws your inner presence forward in you so that you occupy solely the frontal aspect of your body. This in itself, on an energetic level, places excess or extra energetic pressure on your vital organs. It inhibits your breathing and generally strains the body. Moreover, when you're pulled forwards inside your body, it actually pulls on your kidney energy. It pulls your kidney energy forwards, because your kidneys, or the energy of the kidneys, acts as a kind of an anchor to hold you in the rear part of your body. They do this because when you occupy the rear part, you're in command of how the ride goes, or certainly how you're experiencing the ride, rather than when you're up front, the ride takes command of how you feel. Then you're powerless. So the kidneys are there to anchor you into your place of power, which is in the back. When you're in command, you relax, you enjoy whatever's happening, whether it's nasty or beautiful. You enjoy just being. And then when you're relaxed and you're enjoying just being, the chi goes freely through you. And this gives the healthy aspects of you the upper hand. So when the chi is flowing in you, the healthy part takes the ascendant. But when the kidney energy gets pulled forwards the whole time, it strains the kidneys, and it causes an actual contraction in the lower back area. It weakens the kidneys because they're straining, and this seriously depletes the flow of chi or vitality throughout your system, because the kidneys are responsible for generating that, all your body's energy from the base level upwards. And that then leaves you prone to ill health and the general destructive aspect gaining the upper hand instead. So the first thing to do in terms of healing ourselves, and this is an ongoing process. We're having a ritual to do it here now, but this is something that has to be worked with ongoingly, obviously. It's not like you take a pill and then it all goes away, or you have it cut out and that's it. It's gone. And this is us coming to know you, excuse me, in a different way, from a different perspective. So the first thing to learn is how to draw yourself backwards within your skin, and to do so eventually, at least, continually. Now, this does take time. It's not something you get all in one go. The actual getting of it initially is once you get it, it's really simple. It's like, oh, that's just that. That's so easy. But the difficult part is remembering it, really. That's all it is. It's just a matter of developing the skill to remember to keep doing it. Because, as I say, the drama of life, which draws you forwards and puts the pull on your kids and therefore weakens your whole system, leaves you prone to disease and what have you, is really, really compelling. And it doesn't, not just when it's nice, it's actually weirdly more compelling when it's horrible. So when it looks like there's something to be really afraid of, you know, your dissolution, your death, your dying, your horrible things you're going to go through, whatever it is, that's more compelling even than when it looks beautiful. And it's exactly at that time you need to have your power, but you get pulled forwards into the front of the body and you lose it. So this is what we're doing really, is reversing that flow. And the Taoists called this the backward flowing motion. And they said that once you master this, you actually get younger as you get older, because it's that forwards thrust, that constant thrusting forwards into the next thing and the next thing and more, that makes you die, and yeah, basically makes you die. So if you you know, you get older, you die doing that. It wears you out. But the more you learn to come backwards inside, to flow backwards, it's like you're moving backwards through linear time. You kind of get younger in some ways. Once you're backed up inside, and it's something we will do together in a minute, the next stage would be to relax the front part of you, all that noise that's going on in the front, and let it all simmer down. This is done with the breathing and the mind. Just simply by breathing slowly, you stop holding your breath and you start breathing slowly and mentally commanding your body to soften up. So you come into the back of you, you notice that the front of you is a bit stressy and digi and uncomfortable, noisy, complaining, afraid, and you tell it to Relax. You command it. Come on, it's yours to command. So you just say, come now, let go, relax, soften. And you breathe out slowly, and that out-breath carries the tension away. And you just kind of let yourself get in the habit of doing that. The body relaxes then, and hence functions better. And it functions even better when it has optimal space in which to function. Now, the space of the body is delineated, or the extent of the space inside the body is delineated by your posture, or determined by your posture. Now, most of the time we tend to crumple the spine, compact the spine, and narrow the shoulders and raise them up, and simultaneously narrow the hips. It's subtle, but we do that without even realizing it. By gently lengthening the spinal column and allowing the shoulder girdle to broaden and the hips to broaden, and then just very gently raising the breastbone up, this grants you maximum space inside your skin. And this enables all your organs to function more happily, more effectively, and for your blood and all your fluids to flow more freely than if you're squished up and contracted. It's kind of obvious. It is all basic mechanics. In our Western medical schema, we've got so clever, and it is really bloody clever stuff, but it's got so clever that we just completely overlook the real basic mechanics now, to our detriment. Well, fortunately, this ancient system begins and ends with the basic mechanics of how it all works, and so we're really fortunate to be able to avail ourselves of these totally simple maneuvers. And all the while that you're doing this, because you're kind of shoved backwards inside, and we'll go into that in a moment in more depth, the mind itself is drawn backwards into the back of the brain, into the rear of the skull, which is where your cerebellum is, which is the smaller part of the brain than the front part, but something like 100 times more powerful. Now, the cerebellum is the bit of the brain that we talk about when we say we only use 10% of our brain power. That's where the 90% is. And I remember when I lived in New Mexico, there were very, very clever people you'd meet there. I met one guy, some professor of something or other, I can't remember what now, who really impressed me by saying that the next stage of human evolution will be the development of the cerebellum. And then I was coming back with, because I'm training in psychotherapy, with the kind of the Freudian schema for consciousness, that the cerebellum would represent the unconscious, and where the psychotherapeutic process is about bringing what's in the unconscious up into the conscious mind, so to speak. This way of looking at it is like saying by energizing and occupying the cerebellum, you are then activating what was hitherto unconscious and bringing it into the conscious state. And doing so, that then avails you of all the psychic information that's coming in constantly that we're totally ignoring because we're so busy thinking about nonsense basically in the front of the brain. In other words, it gives you that power, that enlightenment power of consciousness. Then basically what you've done here is you've engendered a transcendent state by basically just attending to very simple psycho-energetic mechanics. That's really all that's happened. There's no mystification of this process. There's no need to sort of sit at the feet of the guru for 75 years to be granted enlightenment. You don't have to go through trials or tribulations to achieve the goal, to get the golden fleece of enlightenment. It's just a very simple maneuver internally. The state that I've just described, however, is quite potentially isolating, in that you're in this transcendent state where you're able to observe the personality, the body. No, it's not who you are. You're not your body. You're not the personality. Knowing that this thing will die, this vehicle will fall away at some point, as will the personality that's associated with it. and not minding at all, because you know it's not who you are, it's not what you are. Because when you're in the back of you, you are the background presence, you are the witness bearer, you are the primordial self, you are the Tao, basically. You are the one presence. And the one presence doesn't die. It just is. And you know that because you are it when you're in the back of you. That's why it's so important to be able to do this, because that's what makes you relax totally, and then the energy can flow. And then the diseases, which were actually illusory on some level, vanish because the illusion is dispelled. However, the other factor which is crucial to this alchemical process is love. A universe which is just pure consciousness and energy moves because of love. The love, that is something, of course, I couldn't even begin to explain. None of us can. But it's that generative urge that certainly doesn't come from hatred. It's a generative urge just to make things be. And that is love, isn't it? And the effect of that is that the things that have been made to be, i.e. you and I, we love being here. It's like, love life. I love this feeling. I love the sensation of being. It's that love that we then share with each other. And I'm really not talking about sentimentality. I'm talking about desire. I'm talking about that basic openness of the heart that receives the other on a soul level without judgment. Without judgment, that's the thing. Without comparing, without competing. That just receives the other on a soul level as being an expression of this huge mystery, this Tao, just like I am, just like you are. And the way this is done is also, again, a very simple maneuver. It's just to visualize. I mean, the visualization is something that this is my version, just to help it along. Visualizing the two halves of the breastbone slide apart like a pair of sliding doors to reveal at the core of your chest, just in front of where you're sitting back there, this beautiful flower-like phenomenon, like a gorgeous rose, which exudes the very essence of you, your beauty, your unique, beautiful, gorgeous essence, which you knew before you started kindergarten. You knew it really clearly before you started kindergarten. And then when you come into contact with other kids and teachers and regimes and stuff like that, or, you know, it might have happened before that in your house. It's not everybody has being, you know, brought into the world in a really sweet environment. In other words, before you got trammeled upon by the distorted behavior of other people, there was your beautiful, beautiful essence. You knew it, you know it from then, and it got covered over through pain, through being betrayed, through the treachery of other people, and the confusion of being perplexed by how people can be so unjust and all the rest of it. Causes the whole heart area to harden, almost kind of energetically calcify, and the connective tissue around the breastplate becomes a bit rigid. And the idea is to antidote that by softening through the chest, and then allowing it on its own, the beautiful being that you actually radiate far and wide, simultaneously availing yourself of the beauty that's being exuded by everybody else, whether they know they're doing it or not. So this is like getting the love to flow up and down the connection freely. Now, energy, chi, flows through the body through various networks of channels, or we call them meridians, as well as which it pours down through the body from the heavens, or from outer space basically, from the cosmos, and simultaneously it streams up through the body from the fiery core of the earth. And once this two-way flow, the yang of heaven and the yin of earth is flowing freely through you, your energy levels start to rise spontaneously, usually within about 24 hours of doing it. And that's another reason why it's really important, and the Taoist sages will always stress this, that even just a tiny bit of practice, but every day, is the key to really transforming conditions. It's not about going on a binge healing thing. It's about a little bit every day, a little bit every day, and that keeps this thread of consciousness growing. And that really is the way. What we're doing here is a beautiful privilege. This is like a little healing party, a global healing party online. This is fun. Then we take from this just a little bit of this and practice every day. Great, great, great benefits will come. Then to deal with specific aches or pains or diseases, which is a result of energy getting dammed up over a period of time and therefore kind of forming a calcification or a congealing, as it were. The art then is to direct chi with your mind and your breathing to the relevant areas. And it's done in a kind of sandblasting way, using a strong exhalation, or in the case of if you're looking at the vital organs, you actually make vocal healing sounds with them to kind of blast away any stuck tiredness or pain or disease or so on. It's a bit like, I'd imagine, like fracking, except it's got a benign result rather than a destructive one. And then this would be followed by a soothing kind of mending process and intention to soothe and mend everything, because once you've blasted the crap out of there, the next thing is to smooth it over and let it settle, let it integrate, and then finally would be an intention, which of course is there from the beginning, but it needs to be restated, I think, for your system to maintain the requisite healthy equilibrium for you to prevail hale and hearty for the duration. And this is instigated and honoured by seeing yourself as that hale and hearty person enjoying your life to the full. Is that visualization is so important, to actually see yourself as that being. You don't have to believe it. That's what's beautiful about this magic. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to convince yourself of it. So if you're suffering from a condition that's really pulling you down and it's really difficult to deal with, even if it's just a deficit of energy, by visualizing yourself as you, without that, visualizing yourself looking strong and powerful and vibrant and magnificent, confident in your skin, by seeing it only for a millisecond even, and not trying to believe it, don't waste energy doing that, but you see it often, this does give the right signal to the autonomic level of your mind to produce that result in your body. And we must not underestimate the power of the mind to do this. It is limitless. But first, before we get to that point, we're going to use the trick of jumping right over the mountain of delusion, of the mistaken placement of self within the skin in the front of the body, of the belief and unconscious investment in destruction as a force in general, and all the other factors that are presently appear to obstruct you from enjoying full vitality and health. And with that, part of this mountain would have to include the undue fear of death, that superstitious fear we have of death, which puts you at odds with destiny, and so therefore reduces your chance of success. I mean, death must be seen as a glorious coming home, and not as an enemy. Destiny, therefore, is your friend who comes to eventually take you home. And it's not as the ultimate punishment, and destiny is not your nemesis, witted. This is really, really fundamental. It's something you can't kid yourself about, and I don't think it's necessarily possible to get there in one jump. It's a relationship that has to be fostered like any other, and it does take guts to do it. And it's not like thinking about, because the we that thinks and likes to think and doesn't think and all the rest is that thing in the front. That's the ego. That's the bit that clings to the story for it. It doesn't want to let go of that. But when you get back behind it, you know that that isn't real. You know when you're back behind it that there isn't actually any, it's just the death of the body, the personality that goes with the body and all the habits associated with being in physical form. Yeah, they all drop away. The noise stops, in other words, but there isn't death. Nothing happens. The consciousness remains fully intact, providing you've learnt to reference conference to consciousness to your back, to being in your back. And then you slowly but surely develop a relationship cognitively by talking to death, talking to destiny as if they're people, if you like, and making peace with them, knowing that death is not the punishment. How can it be? Everybody does it. It can't be the punishment. Why are we being punished? We're not. It's just the natural process of the vehicle. Hey, it must happen. You know, like a car. Cars don't go on forever. Everything has to fall away eventually. And knowing that where you go is a beautiful place, it's a beautiful space, a beautiful realm, the place beyond time and space, where we all are already anyway, really. We're just too distracted by the story to notice most of the time. And therefore knowing that destiny is more of an angel than anything that's come to take you there, this makes you relax at a very, very profound level. It enables you to relax into the game of being a human in a body on this planet. And it's only when you relax into the game, and in this case the game of healing, that you can actually heal. You can't heal or manifest any shift when you're in a state of stress. You can only do it from a state of complete relaxation. I say complete, you know, relative, but being fully back in the back of you, so you really know who and what you are. Because really healing and unhealthy tension really do not mix. Healing can only come from surrender. So let's also place the fear of death and dying into that mountain, along with all other blocking factors. It's like a mountain of waste, of all the crap that we don't need, all the beliefs that tell you that you're weak, that tell you that vitality isn't enough to keep you alive, all the beliefs that your real true consciousness is limited, all those fears and all that clinging to being somebody and having something and being important and being respected, and all the nonsense that we busy ourselves with a lot of the time that gets in the way of being a radiant being you are. Put that into the mountain. Put all the fears of pain into the mountain. Put fears of being too weak into the mountain. Put everything that is possibly holding you back from taking the jump. Put all of that into the mountain, and then see it there in front of you, that mountain. This is really, we're now moving into the meditation part of this. Let the mountain in front of you be as high as the highest mountain range you've ever imagined. You might want to close your eyes to do this. And this mountain range standing in front of you is huge. It looks impassable. It looks impossible to overcome. And it's comprised of all the factors that are holding you back from healing yourself, that's holding you back from being able to jump light and free and clear right over it to your deliverance on the other side. So just take a little time seeing the mountain and all that comprises it. Kind of honor it as being there, and know that over the other side lies a realm, a reality, in which you are already healthy and strong and vibrant and energized and full of stamina, free of pain, and feeling better than you possibly ever felt in your whole life till now. Now step right back from the mountain. Take your time. You know, walk right away from the mountain so that you've got a long run up. And start to run towards the mountain. Start your run up, and notice that as you run, you have this superhuman power, and that every step that you're taking is propelling you many meters at an incredible speed, and you're accelerating. It very much feels like a plane taking off. And you can actually feel the G-force of the movement slam you back inside. So the power of this forward momentum is actually slamming your presence back against the back of you. Then see yourself, feel yourself bounce on your strong foot, and feel yourself lift up and up and up, higher and higher and higher and higher, until you go right over the mountain summit. And you're really high. You can feel the altitude. It's actually quite difficult to breathe because the air is really thin up here. But it's so exciting. It's almost hard to believe you're up here. And here you are, way up high, moving in the most beautiful arc, the most perfect, elegant arc. Now, slowly, gracefully, streaming downwards in descent through the air, and yet landing miraculously softly on the other side. And here you are now on the other side of the mountain. All 200 of us from all around the planet have just jumped over our mountains. And here you stand. Collect yourself. Just take a moment, collect yourself. Honor the power of the motion that's just occurred. Stand still. See yourself standing perfectly still. Take stock. And then lean back inside. Get the feeling that as you stand here in your vision, you're leaning up against your shoulder blades. You're leaning up against the front of your spine. You're leaning up against your rear pelvic bones and your sacrum. And your mind is leaning up against the rear wall of the skull. And then lean back even more, like really trust it, like you're trusting the back of a very well designed, sturdy, incredibly comfortable, supportive chair. So you're really leaning back, like a racing driver would lean back in a car. Now, as you do this, relax your kidneys in the middle back area. Let the kidney energy gather rearwards. So you withdraw the kidney energy that was previously getting pulled forwards. Just let your kidneys settle. Allow all the heat that wants to be in the kidneys to settle into your kidneys, to gather there. And just take a moment to enjoy the sensation of the feeling of safety and security that only comes when the kidneys relax. And the front of you, the front of you wants to be tense, the front of you wants to be anxious and grasp at this and grasp at that. And that's fine, that's the front of you. That's like your local self. Bless your local self. Bless your constructed being. Bless your ego. Beautiful thing. An amazing construct. Great piece of art. But you're watching it now. You're in command of it. You can be compassionate towards it because you are the big presence in the back. Give the muscles of your body the command. So you might want to scan through the body from head to see that you're gripping or holding on to the muscles for no good reason whatsoever. Just say, come on muscles, let go, soften. Become aware of your breathing a bit more and let it slow down even more. And expand your physical frame, the main being of your physical self. Like just lengthen the spine, drop the shoulders, broaden across the shoulder girdle, broaden across the pelvic girdle, raise the breastbone just a tiny little bit, and then soften your heart. Visualize the two halves of your breastplate slide apart like a pair of sliding doors, and just let your love flow freely. Let that beautiful softness of your being, just let it be. Lean back a little bit further inside your skull. Let yourself be sitting there like a Buddha on a pile of cushions leaning up against the rear wall of a sacred cave. And from there, as you stand here on the other side of that mountain of unnecessary detritus, look down at your body. And it's nice over this side of the mountain. It's sunny, it's warm, it's very healing here. The air feels salubrious. And notice as you look down at your body that your muscle tone has already improved. You can just see it. Quite interesting. You look stronger, physically stronger. You can see already that your posture has improved. You look more balanced, more even, more somehow as you look. You can just see you've somehow changed. And maybe in this visualization, as you stand here on the other side of the mountain, you notice that all the pain that was in your body has gone. The pain has gone. Remembering that pain is really only an opinion anyway, and it's actually just a collection of sensations. The pain has gone. And your energy levels are high. Even just standing here, you can feel that your energy levels are high, that you are imbued with a fresh level of increased vitality, of vibrancy, of stamina, and you feel robust, you feel powerful, and you feel that you are now in command. You're in your back, and you're in command of everything that's going on in your body. And the previous self, the one that was referenced to the front of the body, would have got anxious about that, because it would start thinking, oh gosh, if I'm in charge, I better not mess it up. But you don't have this, because you're in the back of you, where everything is in its right place. Everything is still, everything is powerful, and you are just naturally, perfectly confident that you are in command and all is well. After all, dying doesn't exist, it's just an illusion. There's nothing to be afraid of. Even if the body and the personality go through pain and inconvenience, this is just passing illusion. You know this because you're in the back of you. There is nothing to be afraid of. So now let's blast out any remaining residue of tiredness, of pain and disease, and send streams of aqua light on the exhalation to cleanse all troubled parts. So wherever there's any tiredness or pain, or sensation of contraction or energy being blocked, or where you know that there might be some disease in your body, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, with quite a powerful exhalation, send streams of aqua, bright aqua light, on the exhalation to cleanse all the troubled parts, like this. Whoosh-ah! 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 Now, the next thing is to send emerald light, and I'm talking about the greenest, most lush, verdant light you can possibly imagine, because the emerald mends, it does the healing in exactly the same way. You don't know of any troubled parts specifically, you just do this throughout your system, specifically the torso where all the vital organs are and all the main bits and pieces. But if you have pain or aches anywhere in your body, you just let this go everywhere that needs healing. Let your body decide where the light collects in the greatest profusion. And as you do this, make the sound just see the emerald light moving everywhere, bathing all the cells. And again. And you just wait. You see yourself now, every cell in your body filled with this beautiful, beautiful, deep, bright green light that's just healing everything, mending everything, every single cell, repairing everything. And then comes gold light, just to soothe. It's like the seal of the healing. We're sealing the healing in. And as you do this, just make the sound. And let it penetrate to every single cell of your body, this beautiful golden light, sealing in the healing. And then finally, a violet colored light, because violet is the color that triggers the healing miracle, the quantum leap in healing that is required. And visualize the violet light wrapping itself around every single cell, penetrating every cell all the way to the bone marrow and then all the way out to the surface, and surrounding your body for a distance of at least 6 meters in all directions, in front of you, behind you, to the sides, above, below. And the sound that will send the violet light out to and into every single cell of your being and of your energy field to protect you now for the next phase of the journey. And just let the energy settle. Just let the energy settle, and know that by healing yourself, you are able to spontaneously do exactly the same for anyone who needs it around you. Now see yourself looking totally secure and confident in having a preponderance of good health. See yourself standing there on the other side of the mountain, looking totally secure and confident in the procedure that you've just undertaken. So there's no need for anxiety or nervousness about, is this working? Is this going to work? You don't bother with that nonsense. You just forget it all, and you just see yourself looking absolutely secure and confident in the knowledge that you've triggered now a preponderance of constructive good health. Remind yourself that you're free to manifest any state you choose and to change the state from moment to moment, and that your choice is to manifest this one. Then see yourself, this beautiful healed being on the other side of the mountain, turn back and smile at you through this quite weird kind of hole in the mountain that you haven't seen before, reassuring you with that smile that all is well, and the bit of you that thinks it's still here on this side of the mountain isn't actually on this side of the mountain anymore. It just thinks it is. It just hasn't up yet with the motion that's occurred because of this passage of the illusion of linear time. And that smile is so warming and it's so penetrating, going so deep into your heart, that you know that all is well now and all will be well. Now in this hallowed state, send a healing wish, a sincere one now, to someone you know. Anyone, whoever pops up in your mind first, whether you like them or not, just send them a healing wish. And don't do it like the saint or anything. Don't have to try and be good about it. Just send a wish for their healing and let it go. And then send a wish for the whole world, all 7 billion plus people on the planet and all the living creatures on the planet, for healing at this very moment. Just send that wish out that all sentient beings may be healed, all suffering may be alleviated now. And this is the time to start wriggling your fingers and wriggling your toes and wriggling your ears and wriggling your nose and bringing yourself back into what we generally think of as the everyday state. And as you do so remaining with your presence in the back of you. Remember, this is your birthright, to be the powerful, huge, limitless cosmic being you really are, not this limited version that we each have concocted. We are much bigger than this. This is your birthright. This is all of our birthright. So in the presence of each other now, all the way around the world, this is probably the most important moment of the satsang. Come back into everyday state, being aware of everyone, but be in the back of you. Be powerful now. Be in the back of you. Keep coming into the back of you as often, as frequently as you can remember to do so. The more you do, the more powerful you become. The more you heal yourself, the more everything works for you in the most elegant, beautiful way possible. Whoosh. Okay, I'm back. So, Sue, this is the question and answer bit. Over to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Bear with me 1 second and I'll just get the correct slide up. Okay. If you've not asked a question before, the way to do that is to either type it into the question box and I will read it out to Doc on your behalf, or if you would like to speak live on air with him, just raise your hand and I will know that you want to do that. And to raise your hand, click the blue circle with the yellow hand and the green arrow, and that's in the little row of icons on the GoToWebinar control panel, and it's got an orange one with a white arrow right at the top of that. So I'm having a quick look, and I don't think there are any hands raised as yet, but we have a few questions in, a couple at least. So we'll start with this one from Sherry in the US, and Sherry's actually sent two questions, so I'm going to amalgamate them in my best amalgamation of questions technique here. After 20 years of MS, how do I truly believe that running on the beach is possible again? I've had it for 20 years, but I know it's curable. How do I heal myself from this illness? I have a block to healing myself as much as I think I want it. Thank you.
I completely empathise and understand, and that must be a proper challenge to your warrior spirit, because there's so much, you're given constantly so much evidence that it's up against it, and how do you dare to even start to think about healing it? However, firstly, we have to, with me, I don't know about you, but when facing what looks like an impossible challenge, I take myself through the worst that can happen, and I let my mind fantasize the most horrible scenario imaginable, and ask myself whether, if even that happens, am I willing to let that stop my delight in being at the most fundamental level? And I always come up with no. No, and I have to work it. I don't just tell myself no. I have to work it through. And so I go, no, I'm not letting even that stop my delight in being, or make me lose my trust in the benign nature of the path. And I also am aware that I am not this body. I am this presence that sits in the back of me. So whatever pain my body goes through, I know I can accommodate it. It doesn't mean I'm wanting this. Of course not. But I'm willing to do it if that's what destiny wants, because that way I'm ahead of the game. Then I've handled the worst, if you like. The next stage is to do what we were just doing then, which is firstly to come into the back of you, because that's where your power is. You can't heal anything from the front of you, because that's where the drama is, the noise and the fear and everything. You come into the back of you, and then you do just visualize without having to believe it. That's the key. Don't believe it when you're visualizing. It's not about auto-suggestion in that respect. It's not about brainwashing. It's not like going into denial and create some kind of hysterical faith in some bullshit, basically, because that's not what this is about at all. You don't have to believe it at all, at all, at all, at all. You just have to see it. That's the bit where everybody seems to make the mistake. They make it difficult, impossible, because they try to believe it. Don't try to believe it for a moment. It's just a waste of time. Just see it. That's all. Like, if I say to you, see a green elephant, you can see it. It's totally stupid. There are no green elephants as far as we know. But you can see it. Your mind imagines it. It doesn't believe it, because there isn't a green elephant unless you paint one. But it can see it, and it's exactly the same as this. You see yourself on the beach again. You see yourself running on the beach. You see yourself running without strain, without pain. You see yourself running strong and flexible and powerful and confident and beautiful and vibrant, and your each stride carrying you great distance. You can feel that sensation in the thighs even as you see it. And then you go, that's it, let go, stop now, just drop it. That's about as long as the visualization needs to be, even that's way too long. And you just keep doing that throughout the day, even though the evidence around you might point to the total opposite being the case. Nonetheless, you just keep seeing it, just like seeing a green elephant. You don't have to believe it, just see it. And if you do that every day, from the back of you, and if you breathe the coloured light through the nerves, even to visualizing the green light mending the myelin sheaths, even though it's sort of like, doctors say, no, you can't do that, it's impossible and whatever. Just visualize it. It doesn't matter. Just visualize it. Visualize that gold light soothing everything, kind of bringing it into place. And then the violet light, which is really the important one, because it's the one that triggers the miracle, the bit that goes beyond rational thought. You do that every day, and don't expect results. Don't look for results. Don't get materialistic about it. Just keep letting go all the time, because you're not the body. You're not this thing. You're just observing it with curiosity, with pure curiosity, gleeful to be nonetheless. And you just do the stuff without expecting any reward for it. And if you can keep doing that, after about 3 weeks, there will be some shift in the condition for the better. I can't say what. It's impossible to know. It's the way it all works is highly mysterious. But this would be my prescription, if it can be called that. And I would really love to hear back from you in 3 weeks, even if it's just to say, no, nothing happened. That's fine too. Because it might take a lot longer than 3 weeks. You know, we don't know how long these things take. It might take 3 seconds. I mean, there's no way of knowing. This stuff happens out of time. So it's a mystery to us, but I would really like to hear from you in, say, 3 weeks to tell me how you are doing, and we could talk about it a bit from there. Okay, Sue.
Okay, this is from Jennifer in Australia. How do I clear excess weight?
Jennifer in Australia, in a very, very similar way, actually. There's a trick for losing weight, which I've worked with a lot of people who had unbelievable success. I don't know why I didn't write one of those books that everybody else wrote about it. Just didn't find it that interesting, but in itself. What is got the excess weight on it isn't real. That's not who you are. You are not that body. Now, you've needed that excess weight for whatever reason. We don't know what. You needed to protect yourself with it. Now, presumably, you realise you don't need to protect yourself with that excess weight, and you're willing to be vulnerable and expose yourself to the world as you are without the padding, if you like. So you bring yourself into the back of you, and you look at your right biceps in your mind, your right upper arm. Now, you visualise your right upper arm looking toned and slender and svelte and beautiful, just like you want it to look. And you stop yourself seeing the rest of your body, which is obviously matching the arm. So it's not like just the arm kind of sorted itself out. The whole of you has. But you don't let yourself see the rest of you. It's very important. You might find the right arm's hard to visualise, so you might want to visualise your left foot, for example, or your left calf. Whichever bit of you visualise, though. And I would recommend the right upper arm if you can. See it just as you want it to be. Don't try and believe it. Don't waste energy trying to convince yourself that you're making it happen. That's just boring and it doesn't work anyway. Just see it. That's all you have to do. Just like seeing green elephant. We know it's not real, but we can imagine it. See the arm looking like you want it to look, the upper arm. You don't have to believe it. Just see it. Imagine it. And don't let yourself see the rest of your body matching that. Do not let yourself see the rest of your body. That's the trick involved. And if you do this often enough, combined with a sort of a repeated sentiment such as, my body is utterly brilliant, and it is already regulating my weight with every mouthful I eat. And it doesn't matter what I eat, it doesn't matter what I do, my body is now regulating its weight because it's brilliant, my body, and I'm trusting it. That kind of thing. Not obviously word for word like that, you know, in your own words. My body's now regulating its own weight. And then every mouthful of food that you eat, you sit in the back of you as you're eating it, and you give thanks for that food. You bless that food with magical power, and you say to yourself that every mouthful I'm eating, my body is regulating its own weight now. And I suspect that if you can keep flashing on the visualization repeatedly, just for a second or two, many, many times a day, for about 3 weeks, you will find that your body has already started to lose weight without you having to think about dieting or anything like it. You'll be drawn naturally to eat foods that will help that happen, and less drawn to eat foods that don't make that happen. However, if you find yourself eating foods that we know are proven to increase calories and so on, what have you, be kind to yourself about it. There's no punishment involved. You have to trust your body. It knows what it's doing. So it probably would need that stuff to go in at that moment. So you just let it all be. In other words, you condone whatever, but you keep making the choice that your body is regulating its way, and you keep seeing that right upper arm looking like you want it to look, and know that the rest of your body's doing the same to match, but you don't let yourself see it. In a nutshell, that's the treatment.
Claudia is saying, I went out for a few minutes right when I was jumping over the mountain. Will it work even if I don't remember what happened for a while? And will the visualization be useful for other things that are not health related?
Yeah, Claudia, actually it works even better when you go into that's what's called the hypnagogic state. And that is actually deep trance that you induce with very powerful hypnosis, and it works even better like that. the visualization can, of course, be used for absolutely anything in your life. So it literally anything. It can be any aspects of your life that you want to transform. You use the same technique of jumping over, going over the other side. You can use the colours, which are very powerful, to heal aspects of your life, your external life. So I don't want to go into it now because it's kind of complex, but say, we were talking about money, and say your bank balance was all messed up. You can actually inject the light, the aqua light, into the whatever represents the bank balance in your mind, and suffuse the whole situation with the light to cleanse it of all blocks and what have you. You can then inject the emerald light to heal it, to mend whatever was broken in there that was stopping the flow. You can then inject the golden light to soothe it and harmonize it, and then inject the violet light to bring on the miracle that makes it happen. You can do it with absolutely everything, and you can do it for other people exactly the same. You visualize the light moving into them in exactly the same way.
Your hypnagoguing was very strong today, Steve, and I had the huge difficulty trying to keep my eyes open for this, because obviously I'm running things behind the scenes. So
I'm always aware that every time I go over to you, I do it quite loud because I think I probably need to wake you up. Oi!
Okay, this is the last question, and it's from Rob. What's the best way to get over chronic fatigue? I suspect this will be the same as for MS. Is there anything else to do?
Rob, I tell you what, I've worked a lot with that chronic fatigue with people, and look, firstly, I think it's forgive me saying it's fascinating. I wouldn't want to make currency out of anyone suffering, to the contrary, but it is a fascinating condition. I would really question anyone who came up with a definitive answer of what makes it happen. But one thing I have noticed for sure over the decades is that it always involves a deficit of kidney qi. That always, without fail, there's always that. In other words, the self is being pulled right forwards, is in a state of constant, usually low-grade stress and anxiety. The soul is at odds with that. It doesn't want to be like that. It doesn't want that going on. The kidney energy is being kind of pulled forwards to support the being in the front, and it really needs to be in the back, and that weakens it. And this causes various syndromes, one of which is chronic fatigue. And that's a good one to have, really. Of all of them, I say if you had to choose one, that's probably the one to go for, because it's the least malign of all the conditions I can actually think of associated with kidney drop. So the thing is that it's clever. That's, in other words, it was a clever choice on some level to go for that one. Draw the energy back into the kidneys, and you can use a sound which is I was doing it for you there. You go up into falsetto for the and then you drop down into and that going up and dropping down is bringing the heat sound, the sound of heat, down into the kidneys, and that makes them relax. That's a help. Rubbing by kind of putting the backs of your hands on your lower back and rubbing up and down briskly to generate heat. Also very helpful from a sort of an external point of view. But mostly it's to remind you to keep relaxing them and bring yourself back into the kidney region. This in itself will then bringing yourself back inside all over the place, like you're leaning right back inside, as we were doing, very, very important. And from that place, breathing slowly, without trying to believe it at all, to do, the one that I found works great with chronic fatigue, is you visualize yourself running up a mountain and then running down again. But you're not running up like a normal human, you're doing it superhuman. So every step you take propels you 8 or 10 meters, like you're flying, and you get faster and faster the higher up the mountain you go. And you can visualize it from, say, 2 camera angles. One, the camera on your helmet, if you like, and the other, the camera down at the bottom of the mountain, watching you go up the mountain. You can kind of live edit between the two of them. And you see yourself reaching the top almost before you've had time to catch up with yourself. And there you are, standing on the top of the mountain going, I've done it, look at that, I've done it. And that sense of triumph, of having overcome the inertia in your body, and then you just pelt all the way down again. Personally, I do skipping in my visual, and in real life down mountains. Like children skip. You skip down the mountain. It's kind of easier, and you go faster. It's kind of like flying. And you visualize yourself doing that and reaching the ground again, going, well, I've done it, I've done it, I've done it. And then combine that with jumping over the mountain, initially the mountain of fear, the mountain of self-doubt and all the rest of it. Then on the other side, I guess, you come to another mountain, which is a really beautiful mountain, and that's the one you run up. And you see yourself running up it and down it and up it and down it 3 or 4 times a day. Usually 3 days of that is enough. And messages to all the muscles, especially the front of the thighs, which is important, I'll explain why, to get you going. And with all of this stuff, it does take at least 24 hours to 48 hours, 72 hours or whatever to get the signals to penetrate the autonomic system and for a shift to start happening. So we're not looking for an instant shift. It doesn't work like that. The body-mind needs time to assimilate and process the information, but it always does obey this. It never doesn't. It always does work if you stay with it, assiduously. Just fleetingly see that and then come back off it, see it, drop it, and it will happen. The fronts of the thighs, this is for everybody, really, really important, because that's where the motivational energy is stored. If you think about it, every movement that you make is initiated in the fronts of the thighs. The Taoists say that that's where you store motivation energy. Percussing with your fist, like drumming a roll on your 2 thighs simultaneously, it feels really odd to do initially, but once you get used to it, you can do that for a few moments, a few times a day. Again, within 3 or 4 days of that, you'll find there'll be more motivational energy as well, which is important. That energy says, come on, I'm going to get up and do this now or that now or whatever. But mostly it's visualizing yourself being able to run up the mountain with the greatest of ease and standing there looking beautiful and like, oh, I've done it, I've done it. I've overcome that now. I've got command of myself again. I've got my energy back. You visualize yourself as that guy, smiling back at you, going, come on, it's going to be all right. You're already here. You just haven't caught up yet. That would be it.
Stephen?
So thank you. And yes.
I just wanted to interrupt you before you close because there's a comment in from Natasha which I thought you and everybody else would like to hear. And she says, 2 years ago I wrote to you saying I'd been told I wouldn't walk again, even though no one in the medical profession could figure out what was wrong. I gave away my walking stick the other day, thanks to Rocking with the Tao. Thank you.
Wow. No, thanks for the show. Wow, good on you. Good on you. Wow. Good on you. Beautiful. I think that we can't top that for a close. That's brought tears to my eyes. That's amazing. Let that be the inspiration for all of us. It can all be done. It can all be done. Let's let the miracles come now. It's going to be a beautiful week this week. I feel it. Thank you very much indeed.
There's another one,
go on.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you again.
No, go on.
People are just putting some comments in here. And Sieglind has just put, after the first money meditation, which was in this series, a location manager knocked on our door offering us £1,000 for using our house in an advertisement.
Wow. Wow. It's beautiful.
And we had Paul writing this
wow,
week, didn't we? Also similarly about having a really positive experience after the meditation.
Yeah, I was going to say, this shit really works. What do you know? That's beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Come next week. It's going to be lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye.